Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to Seriously Arabic where we learn a bit about Quran and its grammar, and today's session is going to be all about Ismul Ishara. And we have come across Ismul Ishara before. We have come across them when we learned what are the 8 mabni words that are non-flexible, and we also came across them when we learnt about the 7 definite category of ism. So this is the time where we finally learn what are these Ismul Ishara. So this table, Ismul Ishara, because they're always definite, we know that one property of them is always ma'rifah. And this table will give you the rest of the properties, because remember, these are isms, and for every ism you need to be able to tell me all the 4 properties. Starting off with the singular masculine, these are mabni, so in halat al-rafa, nasab and jar, they're all gonna look the same. We have hadha, and even though it's written as hadha, we pronounce it as hadha, which means this. And for the dual ones are not mabni, they are mu'rab, just like in the Ism Mawsul, the dual was mu'rab. The same is with the Asma'ul Ishara. We have hadani, which means these two, and we have hadaini, which also means these two, but it's in the nasab and jar version. And then for plural, you have haulai. Just because this has a kasra doesn't mean it's in halat al-jar. This will be the same in halat al-nasab, rafa, or jar. And we have the feminine version of these, which is hadihi. And this means this for feminine, but it can also mean these, because feminine broken plurals that are non-human, or sometimes sound feminine plurals that are also non-human, that are also non-intelligent, they are treated as she, which means that you can call them as hadihi when you're pointing at them, which is why the translation for hadihi is either this or these. The dual version is hatani, which means these two, but this only applies to feminine things. And then you have hataini, which means these two as well. And then the plural is the same as the masculine version, which is haulai. These are qareeb, which means that they are used for things that are near. In fact, this is for things that are closer. Now we're moving on to the ba'id version of these. These are the ones that you're going to use when pointing at things that are further away. So the singular rafa nasab jar masculine is dhalika, which means that. And the rafa dual version is dhanika, which means those two or both of those as well. You can translate it in that way. And you also have dhainika for the nasab and jar version, which means those two or both of those. And then the rafa nasab jar version of the plural is ulaika, which means those, all of those lot, everything, 3 or more. And then the feminine version of ba'id is tilka. And again, this can mean that, referring to only female things, or it can even mean those, because feminine non-human things can be referred to as she, or broken plurals can be referred to as she. And then you have the dual version, which is tanika, which means those two or both of those two in the rafa version. And then you have tainika for the nasab and jar version. And then plural is the same as the masculine one, which is ulaika. And if you haven't memorized them or you don't know them and you're learning them for the first time, make sure you know these and their meaning and the definition, and you need to be able to tell me all the 4 properties of these Ismul Ishara. Now let's have a look at the rules regarding these Asma'ul Ishara. If the word right after the Ismul Ishara has alif lam, then the translation will not have is after the indicative noun. So this is going to be your phrase, which in Arabic you can say murakkab غير مفيد or murakkab naqis. Is going to be an incomplete sentence, because Asma'ul Ishara, they can be used to make phrases and they can also be used to make sentences. Now they are phrases when the word right after has an alif lam. I'm not saying proper, I am saying alif lam. It has to be alif lam. So if I say hadha al masjid, this translates to this mosque. And the word that comes after the Ismul Ishara is called the musharun ilay. So this is the Ismul Ishara and the Musharun Ilay, and together they form a phrase. But if the word right after the Ismul Ishara does not have alif lam, then you put is after the Ismul Ishara, and that will make a full sentence. So that's going to be your Murakkab and Mufid. So if I, for example, write Hadha Masjidun, this will translate as this is a mosque. So this is a complete full sentence. I'm not saying the word after the Ismul Ishara it has to be proper. I'm saying that it has to have alif lam, and in fact in this case it does not have alif lam. And when it doesn't have alif lam, this is not musharun ilay. And musharun ilay only comes if it is a phrase. This is a full sentence, so this masjidun is something else. It's not a musharun ilay. So let's have a go. We need to see if we can figure out if it's going to have an is in there or it doesn't have an is. So I have here all of these verses which we need to have a go at translating. And I put the meanings of the words that you probably wouldn't know. And then the rest you should be able to translate on your own. I am going to be going through some of the answers, but you should pause and have a go at translating these yourself. So these are all the answers. If we have a look at the first one, it says ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ, which that translates to that book. But when you see a Quran translation, most likely it will tell you this book. And this is one of the occasions where we don't stick to the literal translation, because it's hard to translate a sentence word to word. In most cases, this isn't really possible. And translation is a skill that involves taking an idea in one language and then saying that same idea, conveying that same idea in another language without altering the meaning. And if you were to say that book in some verses of the Quran, it actually wouldn't render the idea properly, which is why we say this book instead of that book. And in some cases, in fact, the word dhalika is used to show the magnificence of the Quran, but we still translate it as this. And let's have a look at hadha alladhi here. So I translated it as this is the one who. Now alladhi, it looks like it has an alif lam, but this alif lam is part of the word alladhi itself, so this is not alif lam, so it's going to have an is in the translation. And if we have a look at this one, which says dhalikum khairul lakum, the word dhalikum is basically dhalika, but sometimes when it's referring to plural things, instead of saying dhalika, they say dhalikum, but the translation doesn't change at all. So it's still going to be that is better for you. And I have one more set of these. Pause and have a go at translating this. So let's go to some of the answers. So min ba'di dhalik, here there is no word after dhalika and there is no word with alif lam either. So this is going to be after that, because you have min, which is huruf al-jar, and then you have ba'dun, which is your special mudaf, and you have dhalika, which is going to be the mudaf ilayhi of the word ba'd, and all of that then that's going to be your majroor. Now ba'd, because it's special mudaf, you don't have to put the of translation, because in most cases when the special mudafs are used, the of translation doesn't make sense. So you're going to say after that. You could also say from after that, but after that is still fine. Then you have ulaika alayhim salawatum min rabbihim. Now ulaika alayhim, there is no alif lam on this word, which you can't have alif lam anyway because it's a harf, but that means that this is not a mushar ilay, and you're going to have some kind of is in a sentence. Now it's a bit hard to translate literally because there are things that are hidden. So what is hidden is the word people. Those are the people. Literally this verse is those, upon them salawatum min rabbihim, upon them are the blessings from their Lord. And those is to indicate, like, those people, those are the ones who have blessings on their Lord. So to make it make sense in translation, we take out what's hidden, we take out the word people. So this sentence translates to those are the people upon whom are the blessings from their Lord. And you have tilka hududullahi. Tilka is the singular version, and hudud is actually a broken plural, which is why it's treated as she, hence why tilka is singular and it's not plural. And hududullah is an idafa, so you translate it as these are, because you put the are or the is, but are here because it's plural. These are the limits of Allah, which is the translation of the idafa. And then the same goes for tilka ayatullahi. Ayah, it's a feminine plural, and that is non-intelligent, which means that you can treat it as a she, which is why tilka is singular feminine. So these are the verses of Allah, and ayatullah is mudaf and mudaf ilayh. If you look at tilka rusul, rusul is a intelligent broken plural, but because it's a broken plural, you either treat it as they or you treat it as she. You have the option of doing both, and here is being treated as she in the Quran, which is why we use tilka. But when we translate it, we don't say that messenger, we still say those messengers, because that's what makes sense in our language. And that's all for today. I will see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Tante lacrime versate per illudermi che non sono un orfano.